with the ministers from various sectors such as finance, education, and social affairs within different countries in Africa.
Of Madagascar, President of Malawi, Lazarus, will be held. Special presidential representative of African countries with my colleague.
The African continent aimed at updating media practitioners from Africa on the implementation of this pledge, which had initially made the U.S. government during the U.S.-Africa summit held last December in Washington, D.C. represent
5 million African.
The ambassador means
the country's companies being involved in the railway construction and the production of modern railway.
4%. This business has been more than 70 Tanzanians attending program in Korea in preparation to gain more skills in running the electric train when it commenced its operation in Tanzania. But also there are 12 experts from Kotem company in Korea are currently in Tanzania.
2 electric train locomotives are expected to be in the country soon from Germany. The Hyundai Rotem company expects to start factory tests of the modern train sets at the end of this year.
From South Korea, we go now to Russia, where the executive director of Dar es Salaam Chamber of Commerce, Said Bernard, says Tanzania as the regional energy hub has an alongside other African experts who are the following report.
The first natural gas discovery in Tanzania was made in 1974 on the Songo Island in Lindi region, followed by a second discovery at Mnazi Bay, Mtwara region in that sector. The tour, organized by Gazprom, that aimed at building capacity to African experts in the gas sector, has equipped the experts with tangible experience that is transferable to their countries.
I've learned 2 major things in this tour. One is that copy and paste is the game of the day. We've seen Gazprom, how they have done it tremendously in terms of changing the gas into usable and shying away from using the normal fuel we are used to, like diesel and petrol. So I think this is a tremendous change. That's number one. And number 2 is that there are so many other things of which we developing countries, especially in African countries where we come from, we are the ambassadors of the rest of other African countries.
And here, the executive chairman of Mitra Energy, Michel Usene, gives his expert opinion on the ways to better the compressed natural gas CNG filling stations in the African context and the economic and environmental benefits that the continent will reap.
Gazprom has shown us that since 2012, they've been able to grow up to 738 filling stations with compressed natural gas. And this means consumption roughly a year about 1.5 billion cubic meters of gas. What does this do is that reduces the cost of transportation and can make it much cheaper for the general public to use. This is precisely what we need to do back at home in Africa. It's to use our natural gas in order to even our private cars from diesel and gasoline into natural gas or other forms of gas, because the cost of natural gas is a fraction of the cost of liquid petroleum products.
We are nearing the end of the tour here in St. Petersburg in Russia. One of the most crucial takeaways here that the experts and journalists tell me is that technological and infrastructural investment is necessary in order to drive the gas sector back in Africa miles away. And all that is possible because the demand is there and the resources are there. Faith Ngaga, TBC News.
There, Faith Ngaga in Russia. Tanzania Police Commissioner Susan Kaganda urges the participants of the 4th International Association of Women Police Training in African region to use and apply the knowledge they receive from the training, especially on the areas of peacekeeping and international operations. Esther Dales has more details.
Commissioner for Administration and Human Resources Susan Kaganda made the call today in Dar es Salaam, insisting that in most cases when peace is breached, the victims are women and children.
I encourage female police officers to understand what peacekeeping is through this meeting. When we go to protect the citizens where we see the observation of peace, most of the victims are women and children. When you go to peacekeeping, apart from using interpreters, you must be familiar with the sign language. Also, I have pointed out that the issue of peacekeeping starts from home. Therefore, female soldiers should start volunteering and learning what the United Nations want.
She furthermore thanks the President of the United Republic of Tanzania and the Commander-in-Chief of the Defense Forces, Dr. Samia Suluhu. On the other hand, the crack of the court from Ghana, Selassie Tachi Selassie, apart from praising the training, she said that by coming to Tanzania, she has learned a lot about how to deal with crimes related to sexual violence.
In Ghana, this law, the Domestic Violence Act 2007, that's the act that guides, that's more like the general or the legal framework that guides the entire general. Can't say much about the act, the normal jail term settles. And then I wish to actually learn more about Tanzania.
Also, the Assistant Inspector of the Prisons, Beatha Bernard Nyasegwa, says she learned how the prison can be used to reform the society.
Leo, tumejifunza. We have learned about social reformation, which is brought to prison, and how to reform them when they are in prison, from prison.
Let us now take a look at today's exchange rates according to the Bank of Tanzania, BOT. Don't miss TBC News every weekday to know all the latest in exchange rates. Time now for all the latest in international news. The news as compiled by Dorothy Murray and read by Apasiaringo.
Togo, where he was suffering from war for decades in regions like Togo, saying it is the time to end the war. That says his side will participate in any kind of meeting for peace and bringing people together and stop the war in Darfur and in Sudan. The housing in urban development, killing 34 people, had been built without a permit. Speaking after visiting the scene, Cortez says an investigation has been launched and rescue efforts will continue after wildfires broke out across Algeria, crops and farmland. Reports say about 8,000 firefighters were working to bring the blazes under control. Ministry of Defense in Algeria says 10 soldiers were killed battling the fires in Bejai. 26 people were also injured and 1,500 wildfires. Thousands of people have been evacuated from the Greek islands of Rhodes and Corfu. Prime Minister of Greece, Kyriakos Mitsotakis, has declared that the nation is at war with wildfires raging across the country. Report says a plane fighting fire has crashed in Greece.
In the initial rounds of CAF Confederation from Zanzibar, Tanzania champions Young Africans will play Asas from Djibouti, and the winner will take on the winner between AS Otoho from Congo against El Merreikh of Sudan. Simba Sports Club will play again, will face Bahir Dar of Ethiopia. The prestigious awards of the Confederation of Africa have been released by CAF. Last year, Senegalese were honored the men's and women's player of the year, National Team of the Year, Coach of the Year, Club of the Year, and the Goal of the Year.
Hello viewers, welcome for the next 24 hours weather forecast from Tanzania Meteorological Authority. My name is Teresa Ngasa. By starting most of Indian Ocean, also is expected to flow at the speed of 40 km per hour from south over Lake Nyasa. And TMA has issued and corrective measures are advised to be taken. And for tonight, it is expectation that most part of our country are expected to feature partly cloudy condition with the lowest over Tanga, Pemba, and Unguja islands over few areas. The remaining part of the day is weather forecast.
it for tonight. Don't miss our next bulletin in Kiswahili at 11 p.m. On behalf of the whole team, I am Nasa Kingu, and we wish you a good night.